Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This one is player rankings, where myself and George from Ingenuity Fantasy, which if you don't know about Ingenuity Fantasy, check out their link in the description below. It's ingenuityfantasy.com. They've got all sorts of good stuff on there. It's completely free. They've got Opta match stats. They've got articles from various people within the FPL space. They've got a transfer wizard, which will help you with what players to buy, at what price and what position, etc. And then they've got the player rankings, which we will be talking about today. So yeah, if you haven't already, do check out that website. This one is midfielders, so it's cheap midfielders and premium midfielders. So let's get into it.
Right, welcome back. We are now on to midfielders. So we'll start off with cheap midfielders, and perhaps the biggest, most glaring difference we've ever had in these lists. Brad's number one is not even on my list. So Eze, number one. Just talk me through that.
He's everything you want from an FPL asset. So I think he's probably on penalties, to be honest. I think he will take the next penalty. Mateta, I believe, took the last one, but I do think that Eze will long term be on penalties. He hasn't got good minutes recently, but that's just because he's coming back from injury, I assume. So I think long term as well, the minutes will be good. Yes, Palace aren't fantastic, but I don't think that necessarily makes a good FPL asset. Like players that play for bad teams, as long as they take up a fair amount of the team's kind of chances or XG, XA, then I think they can still be completely valid. And that's basically why I like Isaac. I've kind of always liked him, and I don't think much has changed.
Yeah. Oh no, I completely agree. Last season I had Eze for an extended amount of time. In the draft version this year, I took Eze pretty high. I just think this season I just can't really trust Palace. I'm pretty sure they haven't scored more than 2 goals in a single game all year. Like, they're just not a high attacking output team at all. Even Eze himself, traditionally, we'd seen him take up quite a large piece of the pie, and that was even with like Elise on the field. But at the moment, last game he had 0.18 XGI, and then against us he had 0.09. So the numbers just aren't there. The team isn't there. And to be honest, they've got Arsenal and Chelsea within their next 5. So it's not even like the fixtures are overwhelmingly positive either. I think it's at the point, I like Eze as a player, but in an FPL stance, I just kind of want him to prove it first. I want to see him have a game where Palace score 3 and, he bags a goal and an assist. I just need the proof in the pudding before popping him.
And that's fair. For me, we don't often get someone this cheap that is potentially or probably on penalties. And when that is around and they will get relatively good minutes, then they'll always be high for me.
Yeah. And, I completely understand it. So, it's not even like I'm opposed to you having Eze in your list. I think I'm just more waiting for proof before making that jump. And then, so another one to speak about. So, Iwobi. So, the guy is lighting up the league at the moment. And, Fulham's fixtures are pretty good. They've got Liverpool and Chelsea, but then they also have Southampton, Bournemouth and Ipswich. So, the fixtures are looking slightly better. And what we are seeing from Iwobi, I'm pretty sure he's in the top 10 for FPL points in general this season. He's been on fire recently. I just don't see the reason not to own him, really.
He seems to be the one that's kind of trusted with the minutes from the Fulham attack. Like, we've seen Traore come in, we've seen Reece Nelson play, Smith Rowe obviously plays a lot of minutes as well, but Iwobi just seems to get the bulk of the minutes in that attack, which I do like. I'm saying all this, he's not actually in my top 10. I do like him. He would be very close to my top 10, but I'm just not sure. We've never seen like this amount of output from him before. So there's not really much to go on in that sense. Again, it could just be a streak of output. Yeah. So if we continue to see this output, then he's a bargain. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And he still is pretty good at his price.
Yeah. I just think, 5 returns in 5 games, but the good thing about the nature of his returns is he's getting involved in the goal scoring and the creative side, which is something we often see as more of a talismanic trait. And as you say, so with those sorts of minutes, that sort of involvement in the scoring and the creative department, I think all the ingredients are there for him to carry on. And as I mentioned before, with those extra fixtures, he seems to have also, Fulham are a pretty good team going forward. And earlier in the season, we saw it was Smith Rowe who was taking, a lot of those opportunities. He was high scoring. We've seen Smith Rowe fall off a little bit as we've seen Iwobi sort of, come into that role. And we've spoken in the past about, the attacking output being a pie. And I just think that, the way things are at the minute, the way Fulham are playing, Iwobi has just eaten into Smith Rowe's share of the pie, which is why I've got Smith Rowe lower. But yeah, Iwobi seems to be the guy there at the moment, so I'd be willing to ride it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I say, I do like him, to be fair. And I think once these next couple of fixtures are over as well, I imagine he will enter my top 10 just because the fixtures will be better. The 5 kind of game window will be better after these next few.
Yeah, for sure. And then Enzo. So Enzo, I mean, the reason normally, any player can have, especially when traditionally more of a 6 or even more of a sort of 8. I normally have my doubts about ever bringing a player into this team, even if they string together a couple of assists, like some or goals, like we saw Kovacic earlier in the season. You just never got the feeling that was going to last. But what we're seeing from Enzo, he's actually playing higher up the pitch, and I think Chelsea's fixtures are amazing. Attacking wise, they're a fantastic team. So playing higher up the pitch with the combination of those two factors, I think it just spells really good signs for Enzo.
Yeah.
And also 5 million as well. It's not bad value.
Yeah. I'm in the market for a cheap midfielder myself this week. And again, he's not actually in my list, but that's just because I think the players that are slightly higher in price are a little bit better. But I know that a lot of people are looking for a very cheap mid at the moment. So Enzo, Amad Diallo are probably the two if you don't want Rodgers. But yeah, I agree with Enzo. I really like him, to be fair. What Chelsea have done with having Caicedo at right back and then him inverting with Lavia, and that means Enzo can push on. And then again, so it seems kind of like Cole Palmer, he's playing a similar, not quite as advanced, but a similar position to Cole Palmer on the other side. And obviously a lot of the opposition attention is going towards Palmer, as you'd expect. So Enzo's almost getting more space, which we've seen over the last few weeks he is exploiting quite nicely. Yeah,
exactly. And so I just think while Chelsea are playing as well as they are, I just can't see them disrupting the system too much at all. They may set up differently against slightly better teams. They may play a slightly more defensive brand of football, but certainly in the fixtures that they do have coming up, I can't see them altering the way they're playing in the system they're playing too much. And then I think one other point to mention. So I had previously had Madueke at number 1, just because when he's on the pitch he's amazing, and I think that's my only concern now is how much is he going to be on the pitch. We saw him benched 2 weeks ago, and what we thought that would mean is that means he's going to play the next 2. Then if he was rested for that one, he could play 2 weeks in a row. But we then saw him benched again last game. Which I think just spells a bit of concern for his minutes moving forward. And I don't think he's finished an entire 90 minutes this season since about game week 5. So, there is a bit of concern there about his minutes.
I rarely expect him to see 90 minutes, to be honest. I also don't think he starts every game. I still think he warrants being... So he's at 4 in my list. I still think he warrants that, given that the Chelsea attack is incredible. Yep. When he plays, like you say, he is so involved. He's so greedy, as we've said before in these videos. He's ridiculously greedy. So I think that, and the fixtures are unbelievable. So I just think that he won't play as much as some of the other players on this list, but he will get returns in the minutes he does play.
100%. And I think that's pretty much where we land on him. It's just a minutes risk. And now premium mids, there's not a huge amount to talk about. I've now put Palmer back above Saka because, I don't know why I even thought that. I don't know why I doubted King Cole. But I think mainly Arsenal's attack isn't that good. I mean, their attackers at the moment are their defenders. Their open play XG over the last 8 games is 0.76, which is not an attractive number if you're trying to own Arsenal attacking assets. I still have Saka and Odegaard at 3 and 4 kind of by default, just because I don't think we're seeing the sort of output from your Sons, your Fernandezes that we're used to seeing. And I do believe that Arsenal will up that, but I just think at the moment Salah and Palmer are in a league of their own.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. Yeah, they've been top 2 in my list since we've started this. I don't think I've changed them.
Yep.
And I can't see that changing. I also can't see Saka leaving from number 3, like you say. The kind of the group underneath them, that's Son, Odegaard, Bruno, and Bomo, just aren't going to be at quite where Saka is, and the pricing is kind of shows that. So yeah, I think those 3 will be there for a long time.
Yeah. And then, so Gordon and Mbeumo. I've got Gordon at 7 and Mbeumo at 9. You've got them the other way around. So Mbeumo did get a return this week. I do just think, we've seen it circulating on Twitter. 1 shot in 5 games and we're seeing other Brentford attacking assets playing. We're seeing Sharda get a lot of the chances now. We're seeing, Damsgaard's playing attacking. We're seeing Witter's playing attacking. I just think, as we've seen from an XG perspective, it's Mbeumo's involvement in that pie that seems to have taken a hit. I know he did return last week, and I think, the Liverpool-Everton game being postponed probably saved a lot of people from transferring him out. But yeah, moving forward, I just don't know if I trust him as much as I trust someone like Gordon, who is one of the focal points of our attack.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's one thing I don't like quite as much about Gordon is that, well, actually no, I can't say that because it's the same with Brentford, in that both of these teams are really good at home and not as good away from home, it seems, which is tough to kind of almost every other week you've got a decision. But we've seen with Cole Palmer this week, so Cole Palmer got 2 penalties. That can happen in any game. That can happen in a Brentford game. If that happens in a Brentford game, Mbeumo's certain, straight away just got 12, 13 points right there from doing nothing. So
and I think it's a good. You're making a good point as well, because what we are still seeing from Brentford, they have scored. I mean, they may have scored. I think they might have scored the most goals in the league at the moment. They're certainly up there. And when a team is just playing that attacking, penalties do tend to come. Especially, they got 3 or 4 players crash in the box every attack. So, yeah, the point about pens is definitely important, because there's no way Gordon's ever dislodging Isak from pens. So yeah, I get the argument both sides. And then Bowen. So, he did have, a pair of returns actually in his last game, but he hasn't, not a huge amount of movement for you. Is that fixtures mainly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that Wolves fixture was one of the better ones in the 5-game window. So yeah, mainly a fixture thing. Although what we probably will see now is him playing as the number 9 a bit more, given that Antonio won't be playing for a while after that car crash. Obviously we've got Danny Ings, we've got Fulkrug as well, but it's quite clear that Bowen will be quite a lot of the time chosen over those 2. So yeah, I think we'll see him at number 9 quite a lot. Also, with Paqueta off the pitch, Bowen is pretty much going to be the first choice penalty taker, and we've seen Paqueta isn't starting every single game, so there is quite a large pen share there for Bowen. So yeah, I do think he's very, very good. Yeah,
fair. And yeah, not much to argue with on that point. He just has that talismanic trait as well, which just always serves well in FPL. So yeah, that rounds out our midfielder section. Let us know what you thought of our lists, any glaring errors, and then we will see you again for forwards.
And that is all for this one. If you like the video, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe. Do check out ingenuityfantasy.com. The link is in the description if you want to look at the match stats from Opta, the player rankings that we've discussed today, the articles from various different people in the FPL space, and then the transfer wizard for who to buy. If you like this one, do subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.